What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, undefeated, rising Mexican superstar boxer, welterweight contender Vergil Ortiz Jr. and his promoter, Golden Boy CEO and founder, former 5 division world champion, former Olympic gold medalist, former pound for pound king, the Golden Boy, Oscar Dela Hoya, who is the promoter of Vergil Ortiz at Golden Boy Promotions. With that said, Oscar De La Hoya is stating that Vergil Ortiz is ready for the upper echelon in the welterweight division. Mainly, he says he wants to make the fight with undefeated 3 division world champion, former undisputed junior welterweight world champion, and currently the WBO welterweight world champion, who is widely considered the #1 pound for pound boxer in the world, Terence Bud Crawford. With that said, he did make mention of undefeated, unified WBC IBF welterweight world champion superstar boxer Earl the True Spence Jr., who is a Texas native, just like Vergil Ortiz. So they fellow Texans, right? And with that said, he did make mention of Errol Spence Jr. fight for Vergil Ortiz. He says he wants to make these fights happen ASAP. He wants to make them happen next. He says, but the fight with Errol Spence Jr. is not as likely as a fight with Terence Bud Crawford. He stated that he believes, without a shadow of a doubt, he's not saying that he don't believe that Vergil Ortiz would beat Errol Spence Jr. He says that he just has a better working relationship with top-ranked CEO and promoter and founder Bob Arum, legendary promoter, more so than he does with the PBC, Premier Boxing Champions, founder and creator and advisor Al Heyman, who obviously Earl the True Spence Jr., that's where he fights at, with Showtime and with Fox. Errol Spence Jr. obviously has a huge fight coming up December 5th against former unified junior welterweight world champion, former WBC welterweight world champion, 2 division world champion, superstar boxer Danny Swift Garcia, December 5th in Dallas, Texas, at Dallas Cowboys Stadium, AT&T Stadium, Jerry's World, Jerry Jones's stadium where the Cowboys play. With that said, Vergil Ortiz is from the Dallas area as well, so they're very familiar with one another. There was some jawing back and forth at one point in time where Vergil Ortiz and Errol Spence had a few words, but that was brushed under the rug. With that said, he says that he has a much better working relationship, this Oscar De La Hoya, with Bob Arum, right? So he says that this is a much easier fight, and Terence Crawford doesn't have an upcoming opponent for this foreseeable future, seeing as though he just finished defeating former IBF welterweight world champion, British superstar boxer, Special K, Kell Brook, in his last fight, November 14th, in which he stopped Kell Brook in dramatic fashion in the 4th round of their fight, where he brutally knocked out Kell Brook. Well, should I say stopped Kell Brook. So with that said, Oscar De La Hoya loves his chances, Vergil Ortiz against Terence Crawford. He says that he highly believes that Vergil Ortiz will be successful and defeat Terence Crawford. He says that he has the skills, the necessary style to defeat Terence Crawford, who is, like I stated, widely considered the best pound-for-pound boxer in the world. I beg to differ. I do not think that Vergil Ortiz is ready for Terence Bud Crawford. I do not think that he can defeat Terence Bud Crawford. I don't think, even with more experience, that Vergil Ortiz would be able to defeat Terence Bud Crawford. I think that his style is tailor-made for Terence Crawford. I think he doesn't have the athletic ability or the quick twitch fiber muscles that you need to defeat Terence Crawford. Now, he is a big welterweight. He stands at 5'10", so he's very tall for the division. He's 16-0, 16 knockouts, so he displayed a lot of power. He has a 70-inch arm reach. Like I stated, he's 5'10". He's 22 years of age. The last time he fought was in July 24th, when he defeated Samuel Vargas via KO. So with that said, Oscar De La Hoya believes that, he has the power. He's knocking everybody out. He's stopping people. He's big. He's strong. Terence Crawford has an abnormal arm reach, right? Terence Crawford arm reach is at 74. So he has a 4-inch arm reach advantage over Vergil Ortiz. Terence Crawford stands at 5'8", so obviously height-wise, Vergil Ortiz has the advantage in height. But Terence Crawford has the advantage in every other area. Terence Crawford has the advantage in boxing ability. Terence Crawford has the advantage in experience. Terence Crawford has the advantage in quick twitch fiber muscles, athletic ability. Terence Crawford is able to switch from southpaw to orthodox. He's a switch boxer. Terence Crawford has a high ring generalship. Terence Crawford has power, just as much power as Vergil Ortiz, because you want to be honest, Terence Crawford has stopped all his opponents at the welterweight division. He stopped Jeff Horn for the WBO title. Then he stopped Jose Benavidez. Then he stopped Amir King Khan. Then he stopped Igis Kavalauskas, and now he has stopped Kell Brook. So he has knocked out his last five opponents, right, at the welterweight division. So Terence Crawford is displaying a whole lot of power at the welterweight division. But more importantly, the most skillful advantage that Terence Crawford has over Vergil Ortiz is his footwork. Terence Crawford has exceptional footwork. Terence Crawford could box you on the inside. Terence Crawford could box you on the outside. Terence Crawford, to go along with his very, very extremely long arms, he has a high ring generalship, and he has very, very fast hands. And he could do so from the orthodox stance, or he could do so from the southpaw stance. So Terence Crawford is very, very versatile. Where Vergil Ortiz, if anything, he will put you in the mindset of Kell Brook, right? He's very, very technical in his approach. He has a nice, big, straight jab. He has a beautiful 1-2 combination. He throws hooks into the body and up top to the head very, very well. He changes levels very, very well. It puts you in the mindset of Kell Brook. And we saw how Terence Crawford fared with Kell Brook. Now, obviously, people are going to say, well, Kell Brook had a lot of success against Terence Crawford in the first 2 rounds. Some people thought that Kell Brook won the first 3 rounds, if you want to be technical. But Terence Crawford made the adjustment. Terence Crawford turned from orthodox. He struggled from the orthodox stance. And I believe that Kell Brook is stronger. He has a stronger jab than Vergil Ortiz. He struggled with the orthodox stance with Kell Brook and Kell Brook's jab. But when he turned southpaw, Kell Brook had no answer for Terence Crawford's adjustment, but Terence Crawford had every answer for Kell Brook's adjustment. Non-adjustment, should I say. And here's the key with Vergil Ortiz. He's not going to make a ton of adjustments. He's not much quicker than Kell Brook. He's not much stronger than Kell Brook, if at all. His jab I don't believe, is as strong as Kell Brook. Now, he has more power in his right hand, I believe, than Kell Brook at the moment. The version of Kell Brook that Terence Crawford faced compared to the version of Vergil Ortiz currently right now, I believe Vergil Ortiz is going to pack more of a punch than Kell Brook. But with that said, Terence Crawford, we know, is a dog on the inside. But Terence Crawford is very, very smart. Terence Crawford gauged the distance between himself and Kell Brook. He finally got it. He timed Kell Brook. He has great timing. He timed Kell Brook, and ultimately he knocked out and stopped Kell Brook. So with that said, I believe eventually he'll time Vergil Ortiz. I think that he'll dominate Vergil Ortiz. I think that a lot of excuses will be made after Terence Crawford dominates Vergil Ortiz, because a lot of people are going to point and say, well, Vergil Ortiz was too green. He wasn't ready. Vergil Ortiz, didn't have the experience, and, it was just too early for Vergil Ortiz when Terence Crawford gets a hold of him. I think this is a fight that Terence Crawford should push for. If he can't land, obviously, he's looking to face a division world champion, currently the WBA welterweight world champion, legendary, iconic, superstar boxer, Filipino, Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao in his next fight. I don't believe that that's a fight that's going to come to fruition. I believe that Manny Pacquiao has other plans, has his sights set on other fights, and I think he's going to go in a different direction. If Terence Crawford cannot land a Manny Pacquiao fight, Obviously, Errol Spence has a huge fight coming up with Danny Garcia December 5th, this Saturday. This is a fight I believe that they should push for. If Oscar De La Hoya is saying his working relationship is great with Bob Arum and he doesn't have a problem, it's an easier fight to make for Vergil Ortiz than Errol Spence, and he's looking to make these big fights currently ASAP for Vergil Ortiz at this tender age and tender stage in his career, and they believe that they could beat Terence Bud Crawford, I think this is a fight that Terence Crawford should absolutely take. This would be a huge fight for Terence Crawford. This is a fight that should be made, I believe, in Dallas, Texas, at the Cowboy Stadium. Jerry Jones loves to place and put on events, especially boxing events, at Jerry World, as he calls it. It has the biggest screen in all the sports arenas. It's gigantic TV in the middle. It's just tailor-made for boxing. Jerry Jones loves boxing. Like I said, Vergil Ortiz has a huge Mexican fan base. He's from Dallas, so it will sell. So you place Terence Crawford versus Vergil Ortiz in Dallas, Texas, and Cowboy Stadium. It's a massive event. I definitely think that Terence Crawford, like I said, after the fight, Terence Crawford is not going to get all the just dues that he should, because a lot of people are going to just peg Vergil Ortiz as being too green. But with that said, this is still a huge fight for Terence Crawford. I favor Terence Crawford all the way in dominating fashion. I do not believe that Vergil Ortiz, at any point in time, even if he garnered more experience, let's say over 2 more years, it will not be enough because his skill set is going to be what it is. Now, I like Vergil Ortiz, but styles make fights. Terence Crawford's style is all wrong for Vergil Ortiz, and I believe that Terence Crawford will show that, and his skill set will prove to be a huge difference in this fight, and he will come out victorious. I believe that he will stop Vergil Ortiz. But if they feel like they can beat Terence Crawford right now, why not make it happen? Especially, like I said, if Oscar De La Hoya is claiming his working relationship with Bob Arum is better than anybody in the business, then make it happen ASAP. It's a beautiful fight for Terence Crawford. It's a big payday. I don't know if it's a pay-per-view event because Vergil Ortiz is not at that level yet, but this is definitely a huge fight, and it should happen in Dallas Cowboy Stadium in Dallas, Texas. You're going to get a lot of Errol Spence fans showing up because the biggest fight in the sport of boxing is currently Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford. That's the fight everybody want to see. So if this fight takes place in Errol Spence's backyard against a guy from Texas, the storyline is big. Terence Crawford gets the opportunity to build a fan base in Dallas, Texas. Eventually, you place Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford in Dallas, Texas. See where I'm going with this? Jerry World holds 100,000 fans. It's one of the biggest stadiums we have in the United States. So let's see what happens. But Terence Crawford dominates Vergil Ortiz, and he announces himself to the fans out in Cowboy World, Jerry World, in Dallas, Errol Spence World, should I say. But drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Is this a fight that should happen ASAP? Do y'all want to see Terence Crawford versus Vergil Ortiz? Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue, Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. You haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.